Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.
One half of the Champions League final is set with Inter Milan heading to Istanbul. I'm Sarah Pararia, joined with James Sharman, and James, Inter beat Milan for the second consecutive time at the San Siro here. 1-0, Lautaro Martinez very late in the game, 74th minute. I think the first leg, everything had already been settled, though, it seems.
It seems that way, yeah. And Milan just having difficulty scoring goals right now. That's 4 games against Inter this season alone. 0 goals scored. You know, Olivier Giroud just invisible in these 2 games in particular. Inter defending so well. Acerbi was fantastic in this one. So yeah, listen, it wasn't a great game, was it? By any stretch, but Inter knew what they had to do. They had that advantage in the first leg, and they held tough. And AC Milan just could not break through in this one. So I think Inter with, should we call it a professional performance?
Yeah, very much so.
Not too many flags, wasn't too much fun to watch, but a professional performance. And listen, they'll enter the Champions League final as the underdog, which is just how they like it right now. And who would bet against them right now, given the professionalism we saw in these 2 legs?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, listen, though, I do think the ref missed some calls, because I did think there were some dangerous plays overall from both sides, and the ref wasn't calling anything. And I thought more so just for the safety of the players. But I guess there's always, that extra excitement in derbies, especially.
And this one especially, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't like each other, it seems.
Inter finally got the better of Milan after 2005, and then 2007. Of course, they were in the final and won in 2010, and that was the last time they were in a Champions League final. But Milan has had the leg up in the Champions League against their city rivals, and it was finally like a bit of revenge for them.
Simone Inzaghi too, right? He's trying to establish his place in the hierarchy of good European managers, and I think needed this as well. They played really well recently. But yeah, listen, it's the San Siro, it's the Derby di Madonna. It's always going to be...
Derby di Madonna?
Madonna?
Mandonnina?
Mandonnina, sorry. Madonnina?
The Derby di Madonna, though, that's what we're calling it.
Madge, still love Madge. But yeah, I mean, it was a great event as it was in the first leg. It felt like a really great European night. It's good for the tournament. I'm kind of happy that Inter Milan won in a way, in that we're going to see some real stars in the final. Obviously, Real Madrid or Man City, we know that. But AC Milan didn't have quite the same depth, I don't think, as Inter Milan, right? Not quite the same star value. Whereas Inter, although they're not dripping with stars, they have them. We see who came off the bench yesterday, for example, right? Compared to AC Milan. So, Inter Milan, who came, Lukaku comes off the bench. Brozovic comes off the bench, because Mkhitaryan comes off the pitch. Gosens comes off the bench. This is a deep team, right? Compared to AC Milan, who has a good starting 11, very similar, but haven't quite got that depth.
Yeah.
Inter obviously spend a lot more money on their players and their payroll compared to AC Milan. But we're seeing, I wouldn't say it's a force emerging in the Italian Serie A, but I think that the domestic league next year should be fascinating, because Inter are playing great football right now.
Yeah.
Napoli, we know what they are. They're going to lose some players this summer. It could be a real tight race, and we could see Inter Milan once again rise to the top of the Serie A.
And I feel like you can never forget the old lady in Juventus. Who knows what they'll be capable of.
They're even there.
Well, it's always interesting with them. But one player you mentioned, Lukaku, he caught up with CBS after the game, and he really enjoyed this interview. Take a look at what he had to say after the match.
Critical of himself, and that's why sometimes it can bring him down sometimes, because he doesn't see the positive side of it. But where I'm happy with him is that after the World Cup, it wasn't easy, trust me, and we won't go into details, because he knows I won't go into details on what happened sometime when we speak to each other. But he came back, and it's the first time I see him like that against proper adversity, where he's slowly but surely coming back and showing that he can deliver no matter what, even when everybody is against him. And that's the sign of greatness. So hopefully, whoever you meet in the final, you can have a good game, and you guys can hopefully win it, and I'll be happy for you. But it won't be an easy one. Sorry, it doesn't matter who you're gonna play. We'll talk about it after.
I should have said rather what Thierry Henry had to say after the match.
He's the best analyst right now in television. He's fantastic. He's so authentic. He's so smart.
He's so smart.
He backs it up, obviously, with his career as both not just a player, but now as a coach. It was a great interview. I haven't seen the whole thing. Check it out on CBS. You can think it's on Twitter. There's numerous replays of this interview because Lukaku is so well spoken as well.
Yeah,
he speaks seven languages.
Seven puts us to
seven
shame.
Languages.
Yeah.
He's going to be a manager one day, or he's going to run a football club. But a really smart guy. And talking about the adversity he faced coming through the World Cup, where he wasn't at his best, and he got back to club football, did his hamstring.
Yeah.
And for a player like him, is so explosive. How hard that is to come back from. He's now coming back. He's off the bench in the semi-final. Will he supplant Dzeko in the final? I don't think he will. I mean, I think you stick with what's working for you right now.
We'll see him get on the pitch, though.
Oh, on the pitch for sure. And he was the assist man, was he not, for Lautaro Martinez?
Yeah, exactly.
Who, by the way, someone that you've been very harsh on through the World Cup.
And I will stay being harsh because he had about 2 chances in this game. Yeah, one of them was a goal, but still did absolutely nothing for Argentina.
He's got 6 goals in his last 6 games, though.
That's fine for me, but he still was horrendous in the World Cup.
Well, they won the World Cup,
by that. They did, because of one man.
You're so harsh on Lautaro Martinez. I know he wasn't a great
I don't
World
think
Cup,
he's that good. Even when he's scoring, I just don't think it's that good. Like, I don't know. There's just something about him. Like, he didn't have that many chances. He did score one of them. He converted yesterday. But
captain too.
That's shocking, though, to me. Is that a bit? Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a couple guys out there that would have been. I mean, Çalhanoğlu, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think there's a couple guys that I don't know. I don't know him, of course, but he doesn't give me that captain. Yeah, like leader. Yeah, he's a bit.
Nowadays, captains. That's about
I guess
for the cameras. Being that. I don't know, the image of the club for the press and the media and the branding. He looks good. It's kind of part of it. It's really sad, isn't it? But still, listen. He's in the Champions League final. He's scoring goals for his club team. He's captaining his club team in big games.
It's good for him.
Give him a break.
It's a good time to be. It's a good time to be Lautaro Martinez. But let's talk a little bit about Inter and their season, because they're heading now to a Champions League final, as well as a Coppa Italia final. And if we take a look at the Serie A table right now, they are sitting third, James. 3 games left to play, but I know I've definitely overlooked Inter this season. I'm sure us at 442, all of us have. They're in 2 finals. They're third right now. I think they'll be able to hold third because, Milan is crumbling, and also they're 5 points ahead of them in 5th place. Roma even further down. But are we overlooking the season that Inter Milan has had? Whether or not they win the Champions League or the Coppa Italia, they've made it to 2 finals, and they're going to be in UCL contention. Not to forget that they were in a Champions League group stage with Barcelona and Bayern Munich, of course, Victoria Pilsen as well. But they got through Barcelona, and I'm just looking back at the year that it's been, and they've had a little bit of ups and downs. But looking at them now, are we,
dismissing them? I think so. Listen, if they win one of those finals, it's a really good season for a team trying to find their footing once again in the European hierarchy of football. They could win them both and finish top 4. Would that give them a better season than Napoli? The team that just bossed the Serie A, playing them as wonderful football. It's debatable, right? You win the Champions League. You win Coppa Italia.
People were talking about that, but I don't know. The Scudetto, you and I are very much for the league, I think. And Napoli not winning since the 80s as well, winning the Scudetto. I do think we won't forget about Napoli, but I think it's more just the resurgence of Inter. This is incredible for them.
But it's been, I guess, domestically in the league, it's been kind of an up and down season, like it has been for most clubs.
Yeah.
Right? Literally for Juve, who were right one point, they were like mid-table without that 15-point penalty, and then they got that rescinded back into second place for now. Who knows how long that lasts for. But I think we've dismissed them. They're a good team. Can they maintain this financially? That's a question. Will they be forced to sell some players this summer? I don't know. They've got a great manager, it seems like.
The Lukaku rumours as well, back to Chelsea.
Back to Chelsea, yeah. Can you rely on Dzeko, who's 37 years of age?
Yeah.
Right? The squad needs some fixing, but like I said before, it's a deep squad. Some really great players. Barella is fantastic.
And if they are in UCL contention next year, and they've gone to the semi or the finals of both of these competitions, players will want to play for Inter next year. It'll be an exciting club, exactly, a destination club. So
living in Milan, playing for Inter Milan, that's some life, right? That's not a bad gig. It's going to be a destination for a lot of players.
Yeah.
So watch out for them next year. I think we probably have overlooked them, is probably the word to use, right? Overlooked Inter Milan. Here we are now, last 2 weeks of the season, and wow, this team could have a historic season upon them.
It could be
right?
crazy.
Historic.
It could be 2010 all over again, but they'll have to get through either Manchester City or Real Madrid. And this is what Simone Inzaghi had to say after the Inter Milan match about his potential opponents.
Comunque capita male perché sono due grandissime squadre con una qualità immensa. Chiaramente la partita di andata l'ho vista, guarderò la partita di domani. È una partita aperta perché anche nella partita d'andata ci sono stati momenti dove...
I love that. Either team were unlucky.
Yeah, he knows very much so that they will be the underdogs in this match. And yeah, they're just going to have to watch the game and see who comes out on the other side. If you are Inzaghi, who would you prefer?
Oh.
I mean, it's going to be difficult either way, right?
Yeah, I mean, man, I don't know. I mean, current form, you want to avoid City, I think, current form. But just with the Champions League pedigree, they did it last year. There's no one match team that's better than Real Madrid. They know how to win these things. They can play so many different ways with the dark arts as well. I mean, it's a coin flip. It's literally a coin flip. I don't know. You don't want either one of them, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see Man City there just because of my English bias. I want to see Pep Guardiola, take that step further with that team that was once upon a time, in my memory, languishing in the lower leagues. I mean, listen, they've been bought by a state, an oil state. Shouldn't have too much sympathy for that team, really, given their history. But City against Inter Milan, that'd be pretty tasty, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. Listen, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, tasty. That's a Champions League final.
Yeah, I do think Inter will maybe be able to frustrate Real Madrid more if they get them. I think something about City and the way they press, it's going to be too much for Inter. But then again, like you said, Real Madrid know how to win this tournament. So
well, the naysayers will say that Inter, group phase, you're right, got through Bayern Munich, Barcelona, although with respect, not two teams at the heights.
For sure.
But then Porto, Benfica, and Milan. It's a pretty, as far as a pathway to the final, there could be harder pathways.
Well, this is going to be the hardest game. The final
By a
will
mile.
be exactly.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they'll win it.
I don't think
know I
they
said
will
before.
either.
I said, who bet against this team with their self-belief, and I probably will actually bet against them.
Yeah, you would.
But hey, we'll see. It'll be fantastic, no matter who they're playing.
Maybe they'll just sit back and do what the Italians do, frustrate the other team, have one breakaway and manage to score a goal. Will it be possible? We will find out. But Inter Milan are headed to the Champions League semi-final. That will take place on June.
And the final.
Did I say the semi-final again?
Twice. Yeah.
I've done. All right, Inter Milan, I'd like to apologize for the way I've treated you in the show. To the Champions League final, of course, June 10th, and they'll be taking on either Manchester City or Real Madrid.
Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.